Hello, and thank you for watching and listening to another episode of Unmedicated and Educated with Keita Rose. I'm Keita Rose, and here we deep dive, dissect, and sometimes diagnose because it seems everyone, including myself, I am never excluded, has lost their damn minds. If you are new here, thank you so much for giving me a try. If you're an OG, then you already know what the is going on. Like, share, subscribe. Talk shit in my comments, tell me how you really feel. And I'm going to tell you guys how I really feel about the bullshit that has transpired over the last, I don't know, honestly, it feels like a couple years. I don't know if I look it, I'm just exhausted. I'm just so exhausted. So let's get into it. Trigger warning, this episode will talk about abuse in SA. The topics discussed might be, triggering for some viewers. This is my personal account of why I left tonight's conversation and why I decided to publicly call out, because I also called them out in private. I just want to say, publicly called out Ace Metaphor and Kitty Rose. Around January 29th of this year, Ace had posted a audio recording of a private conversation that we were having. In that conversation, I was having a manic episode. I was screaming, or get off my phone and let's stop this. I don't give a liar today. Or we have no deal.
Solve this by
I waited up until midnight last night. I'm tired. My back hurts. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. I need to work. But I'm still f***ing around with your bitch ass. He had called me for days, over and over again, at all times of the night, really disrupting my sleep and my peace, which is what he does best. And so I believe he posted that to showcase my bipolar. It was never a secret. I've always been a mental health advocate. I've always made content around mental health. So this is not a secret, but I think he wanted to discredit me because he knew that some BS was gonna come out, and boy did it. He told his 2.4 million followers that I was extorting him, I think as a way to defame me, as a way to discredit me. I read comments about myself. People were like, oh, she sounds like she's on powder. She sounds like she's crazy. She sounds unhinged. And it's like, you know what? Some of those opinions are valid. I won't even lie. But in that context, absolutely not. He knew exactly what he was doing. So I just want to say this. It's cool when they do it, but it's a problem when I do it. No one seemed to mind that, Ace had posted all these things. He posted statements calling me a liar, saying I was attacking him and coming after him for no reason with allegations that were unfounded and all these different things. Listen, I don't have a reason to lie. The whole point of this, one of the points would be, be yourself. Tell the truth. And as long as you're telling the truth, nothing can hurt you. The weapons will form, but they will not prosper as long as you tell the truth. It shouldn't be a difficult concept to grasp, yet it is. When I started the series, January, I wanted to showcase financial abuse. That's what I suffered. I suffered financial abuse by the hands of Ace, who I'm calling Mojojojo. Why did you choose the name Mojojojo? Because if you've ever watched the Powerpuff Girls, every time they were happy, they were thriving, they were just enjoying their lives, he was angry. And he had to stir up drama because he thrived in chaos. It reminded me a lot of Ace. So I call him Mojojojo. You might hear me reference him as Mojojojo or Mojo or Mo3Joes. It really depends on how I feel throughout this whole, video. Ace dropped a statement. Kitty dropped a statement. Ace turned off his comments. Kitty deactivated her page and turned off the comments. And it just felt like they were all, really in sync with how they were moving. I think that you'll see that throughout this video, they use the same tactics. They kind of move the same. And unfortunately, I trusted both of these individuals. I trusted a lot of people I was working with. I was working for tonight's conversation in Ace for 4 years. So you kind of have to trust the people you're with, especially if you're on tour. Leaving your family to be on tour weekend after weekend, week after week with people that now are like your adopted work family. You want to get along. You want to trust people. You want to have people's best interests in heart. You hope that they feel the same way about you. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work like that. So I decided I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell what happened to me because I feel like it, because I want to, because this is what happens when you decide to call out an abuser. Everything that I've experienced is public, and you can go back and see it for yourself. And hopefully if God willing, hopefully it stays on my page, because I want to, number one, go back in the future and look back at what I've grown through, what I've experienced versus where I'm at that moment. Number two, to be honest with you, because after the whole Diddy situation and in the climate that we're in, when a person gets money and power and they don't actually know what to do and they're insecure, in my opinion, they get pleasure from causing people pain. You gotta stop them in their tracks. A lot of people said things like, with this climate, a lot of people said things like, why did you wait so long? Why didn't you speak up? This is the reason. Not only do you have to fight the abuser, but you have to fight everybody that loves the abuser, people that the abuser have treated really well, family members of everybody's involved now. So no matter how many times or how many, people have told me to isolate, hey, listen, don't involve everyone. In order to call out your abuser, everyone is going to pay attention. What are you saying? Why are you saying this about this person? Is it true? Are you lying? A lot of people are going to have questions. So hopefully we address a lot of the questions today. When I first started working for Mojojojo, he said that he had made millions already in this business, in this industry. He had been on shows. He'd worked with Derek Jackson and Stephon Speaks and different other people, other influencers. So this was nothing new. And he just wanted to help. He presented himself as a mentor. Day one, we got into it. We fought. I remember telling Mary, because Mary was, the person that was following him and saying like, hey, listen, this is a cool guy. You do content. Maybe you guys can collab one day. I followed him and maybe 3 days later, he slid in the DMs like, hey, what's your phone number? Got a business inquiry. And then he was like, you want to go on tour and make some money? Of course. Money? Yes, I do. Yes, of course. I got into it with him, I had traveled. I was now about to be on tour with all men. There wasn't many women. We all had to ride in a small tour bus. I was like, okay, this is difficult. He boasted about his money. He boasted about his millions. And he said something along the lines of, everyone cares about money. Money's the most important thing. Nothing else matters. And I was like, hey, that's not all the way true. Yes, money is important, but it's not the whole, that can't be your whole drive, your whole motivation. And he argued me down. And I remember thinking, what a bad first impression. He showed me his Shopify. He showed me his bank statements. He wanted me to know he was a millionaire. Okay, cool. I remember going home that day or going to the hotel and calling Mary and being like, hey, you put me in some bullshit. You put me in some BS because he's not a, great person. We're already fighting. But the experience was fun. The money was good. So we continue along. Now, as I'm working with him, I'm hearing him saying crazy things on stage. Like, if you're otherwise happy, like if a man is otherwise happy and you're otherwise happy with a man and he pays all the bills, it should be okay that he, sometimes steps out on the relationship. Absolutely not. If he pays the bills in the house that we share, right? That doesn't give you a right to cheat. How about we, talk to each other? Maybe we open up the relationship. Maybe we compromise. But just because you decide to be a provider doesn't necessarily mean you get to disrespect me, especially if I think I'm in a monogamous relationship. And I would say shit like that on stage, and he would be so mad. And I would see that the women in the audience would also be so angry.
Don't talk about my man. Don't interrupt him. Why is she even there? I just want to hear from you. I love you.
So I said, you know what, Keita? Stay focused, get your money, enjoy this experience, learn what you can, call it a day. One of the next things that I kind of ignored, and I want to use this opportunity to also take accountability, because a lot of people said, you're not a victim. I'm not. Tony Gaskin said,
I don't feel like at all she's a victim. I don't feel she's a willing participant.
Don't feel bad for her. She's not a victim. And I'll address that a little later. I'm not a victim. I've said that several times. I trusted a man that I look like Mojojojo. If you look at him, you say, that looks like a shiesty fella. Okay? When you look at him, you can tell. But I decided to trust him. I decided to go against my better instincts. I decided to go against what I felt inside a lot of the times. I took some of the stories that he told me, and I felt a lot of sympathy, and I wanted to give grace, but giving grace just really turned into enabling. Absolutely. And so I want to say, this is not a shaking cry. I don't know what's going on. I'm a victim type situation. This is what happened. This is the situation. This is my story. And It was nasty. It was messy. But so, so is healing. When you go through abuse, healing is also messy and nasty too. But the best part of that is when you come out of it. When you come out of it. So I hope all of us can come out of this one way or the other. But another thing that I ignored was that he was a cheater. When I first got on tour, his assistant bragged about sleeping with him.
I'll drive 5 hours for that D. He doesn't even have to buy me a plane ticket. I drive for that D. He bends me over. I throws it back. I love it. All
that. Listen, I'm not a freaky person, so I kind of shut down when people are like doing too much in that department, but she was happy to be sleeping with him. Everything was going swimmingly. That wasn't my business. I don't care who he's sleeping with as long as it's not me. I'm not going to even hold you. As long as it's not me, he doesn't touch me. You touch me, you're going to jail. So as long as he doesn't touch me, I didn't have a problem with it until we were out. All of us were celebrating another amazing show, another successful show. And I remember talking to some of the men, wives that I was on tour with, like, hey, I just want to let you know your husband was, well behaved. He didn't do anything. I didn't expect that being on tour with all these men, that there wouldn't be so much. I expected more women. I heard a lot about tour life, but these men kept it respectful. But Mojojojo's girl walked up and was like, what about mine? And of course I lied right to her face. I lied. I was like, yeah, yours too. And then I went about my day. A lot of people say, well, right there, you're wrong. Absolutely, I'll take accountability. Possibly, I should have said, hey, your man cheating on you. And maybe I wouldn't have lost my job at that moment, but I didn't want to bet on that. I think your boss's business is your boss's business. And I also think that if you are going to step out on your relationships, you shouldn't involve everyone else. I don't think you should step out on your relationships, but if you are going to be a cheater, please go off somewhere, get a hotel. We don't want to see it because you make it awkward at Christmas events and family get-togethers and all that. I don't know why cheaters always want you to be right there in the faces of the person they're cheating on. It's crazy. It's weird. But anyways, I digress. So at that moment, I don't know how long we're in. We're still fairly new. We're not friends. We're working together. But at that moment, I had known that he had slept with guests because he bragged about it. He sleeps with assistants because they brag about it. He slept with fans because he often told stories about, I don't discriminate. If a fan has a small hand, if a fan is in a wheelchair, I don't discriminate. And I'm going to insert a part right here of a podcast recently that he dropped with Pastor Jamal Bryant, where he basically says that he feels really bad about how I disrespected the disabled community.
And then there's one that I don't want to say on your podcast.
Just say it. We here.
Let me first say this. The reason I don't want to say it because I felt that it was a disgusting thing to do or say, because I believe handicapped people, if they're mentally able, can have a routine, normal sex life.
First of all, I said that he doesn't discriminate. He sleeps with, anybody. And I said, doesn't matter if you're big, small, little hand, big hand, whatever. Everybody wants to be treated the same. So saying to them that they can't be a part of a discussion, it would be ableist. Let me know in the comments below if you think I'm tripping. But that's what I said. I never completely disrespected a community. I said he didn't care. Because he didn't. Big, small, wheelchair, whether they had legs or not, it didn't matter, which doesn't, he's like, the disabled people need love too, man. And the disabled people are able to have sex. I know that. No one ever said that these people, like the people weren't. I'm just telling, I'm just letting you guys know and painting the picture of, he was very sexually open. He was proud. He talked about it a lot. At that moment, he hadn't talked about abuse. At that moment, he hadn't talked about anything with men. It was always being very sexually charged with women. But it wasn't, a big deal to me because at that moment, the podcast was called Love, Poetry, and whatever, but we were transitioning into uncut, unfiltered, and that was supposed to be more of the sex talk. So kind of got used to, we saying nasty things, whatever, and it was what it was. It wasn't something that made me say I couldn't be a part of this. I'm like, okay, listen, I used to be in the military. Men used to talk worse about their wives and about women and about this and that. So maybe I have a high tolerance for BS and stupidity, maybe. possibly, but that's some of the things that I kind of ignored. A lot of people are asking, why are you telling his story? But unfortunately, when you wrap everybody else in your BS in your story, it becomes everyone's story. When you place people in your life, when you've letting people know what's happened to you, it becomes their story to tell. For example, I love to give examples. If you're a mandated reporter and somebody's venting to you, but in that, during that conversation where they're venting, they let you know that something could be happening to kids or to a domestic violence situation, maybe with a man or with a wife, with a woman, you have to report it. You're a mandated reporter. If they find out you didn't report it and you could have prevented it and you didn't, you'll get in trouble. You might lose your license. I'm not saying anybody at tonight's conversations are mandated reporters, but when you allow other people in your space and when you share your stories with others, you have to know that this might not stay between you. Everybody's got to be a villain in somebody's story. I'm sure I'm a villain in Mojojojo's story. I'm sure I'm just some bitter woman who's making up things, same as Kitty. I'm just some bitter woman. I'm crazy. I'm just making up things. We don't know how I got here. We don't know how this all, transpired, but they're villains in mine, trust and believe. Speaking of a villain, let's talk about the abuse. I'm going to play a clip where Mojojojo talked about his abuse publicly on his public platform.
She's talking about rape. I'm talking about being molested.
She might have been talking about a whole bunch of different things.
No. But when we broaden the scope, it now puts more surface area to soften the blow of what we're actually talking about here. All right, so when you say trauma's a host of other things. We're specifically talking about sexual abuse and physical violence towards women and some men.
Then it was shared on his TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. So when he sits up here and he says things like, she took my story from me. She wouldn't let me tell my story. In some fake new Atlanta accent, because now he's moved to Atlanta. So now I guess he's I guess what the young kids say, he's a YN now. But let's talk about the actual abuse here. In the beginning, once he started opening up, Mojojojo would open up about abuse, about the essay with his mentor. So the essay with his mentor, he would open up about it during brunch, during dinner, during green room sessions, before the show, after the show. It was random, and it was whenever he wanted. Whenever he wanted to randomly discuss this, he would. And I'm not going to lie, the first time, it did take me by surprise, and I was uncomfortable. We were sitting at brunch. My boyfriend was there. My best friend was there. My assistants were there. He talked about his molestation. He talked about his abuse. He said, I already let you guys know this, and I say this all the time, and then he continued with the story. We did inappropriate things together, da-da-da-da. And there was never like a ending. You were always left wondering more. Like why, you had questions that he didn't really want to answer and he never really wanted to get deep into it. So it was it left you confused. Like, why did you even bring it up? A lot of the times I was left with like, why did he even bring it up? And I would ask people like, how do you feel about that? Am I the only one that feels uncomfortable? Do you guys even care? And a lot of his crew, a lot of his team was like, oh yeah, he always does this. Everyone knows this story. There's going to be many more. But a lot of my team was like, why is this happening? Why is he just saying this? In the beginning, it was only, about his abuse. He was young. His mother was on drugs. His father was in jail. So he really didn't have anyone. He was kind of like given, he needed a mentor. His mother joined the Jehovah's Witnesses. So they found solace in the Lord and in the Kingdom Hall. Okay, cool. Absolutely. I felt really bad. He gained a lot of sympathy from those stories. This happened to me. But it was never like this happened to me and this is what I learned, or this happened to me and I wish I could teach other kids or other people, how to heal from this. It was always just this happened to me and that's it. For a year, I think, I was just confused. Okay, whatever. I would tell him, you should stop telling random people. You should stop telling people this. Because already we had seen that he's not a very good boyfriend. He's not a very good boss, right? I had witnessed him screaming at employees. He screamed at me. Spit came out. He's the spitter. He makes people uncomfortable. So we knew he wasn't the greatest person. He didn't treat everybody the best. guests were complaining, I'll never come back again, saying things like that. So it's like, you don't really want to tell people about random people, especially about something so personal, especially if you're not healed enough to talk about it, to answer questions. You know, if you're just speaking about it randomly and then you shut down, a lot of people are saying that it might have been a cry for help. Maybe. I didn't know, but I felt very bad whenever my family members and friends would say, leave, quit. This is terrible. This sounds horrible when you tell me about tour, when you tell me about these weekends. I would say, you don't know. He's been abused. You just don't understand. He's been abused. You just don't get it. No one loved him. No one knew how to show him this and that, and that's why he doesn't know how to show it. Again, though, a lot of justifications, a lot of the times when you feel bad for people that have been through things but don't care enough about themselves to heal through those things, to heal from those things, you become an enabler. And that's exactly what I did. I'm like, you don't get it, you don't get it. But it wasn't until April of 2023, and the only reason I know this date is because, and I hope I got the right date, is because Randy, all of us were out. We had a show in Atlanta, and we were at the Slutty Vegan, and he said, Mojojojo would always start the conversations. A lot of people wanted to have a silent brunch because we'd always ended in fights and debates and stuff like that. A lot of people wanted to have a silent brunch, but he liked to talk. I like to talk. So we all talked. It was a thing. We did it every single time we were on tour. Mojojojo said, I understand why women accept certain forms of abuse. Like maybe the man is neglecting her at home, or maybe he's cheating, or maybe he's mean to her, because my mentor, did that to me and forced me to sleep with other men and do things like that. But in exchange, I received trips, clothes, shoes, all these things. And at that moment, it sounded like he was bragging, and I thought I was tripping. But, I texted Randy like, what? And she texted me like, bad bitch alert. And I was like, he's sick. He's sick. This is crazy, because now not only are you talking about it, but now you're bragging. I got all these things. I got this, I got that. And that there showed me, why he said the little things that he did say on stage. Like, everybody has a price and you can treat people how you want if the money is good. It's honestly because I feel like it's because when he went through what he went through, the mentor kind of made the essay or whatever he experienced better by giving him things. Again, why are you telling this, right? Like, why is this your story to tell? Because you got a lot of sympathy. He gained a lot of sympathy from me. And I accepted a lot of things because I said, I just don't get it. You just don't get it. He's been abused. But then come to find out, he brags about it. It's something he thinks is cool. It's something that he thinks, I don't know, he can be proud of. He said it was his story to tell, but he's told this story several times to anybody that will listen. I'm not sure what I told that was his, that was so private. Everything that I've talked about has been public, fair use. So I don't know. Why I decided to come out was in October of 2024, we had a show. I don't remember what show it was. And I remember being in the green room and we were all having a conversation. And Mojojojo started randomly doing that again, where he talks about his abuse. He said that he vaguely mentioned his abuse. He said that he only told a couple people. Okay, well, all the people with me heard it. And a lot more people than that heard it. And I'm sure if this goes to court and everybody gets subpoenaed, I'm sure, everybody will give their account of the things that they've heard come out of his mouth. He didn't vaguely just start talking about it in October. That didn't happen. He, talked about his mentor, talked about some of the things that him and his mentor did. And then he said, he's still mentoring boys to this day. And so from that conversation, Dr. Cheyenne was like, hey, well, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to step up? Are you going to publicly tell us who it is? Like, are you going to fight for these boys? Like, that's a natural human response. Anybody would say that. Anybody would be like, you're talking about this terrible time. You're talking about this abuse. You're saying that this is still happening now. What are you going to do about it? And he shut down and he didn't say anything. And when he didn't say anything, I kind of went into this mode that I like clockwork. I went into this mode like, well, he doesn't really have to say anything. And she was like, well, he should. He's 35. Clearly he's over it. He's expressing it to us. Why won't he just, tell the public or do something to save this situation, to fix this situation if you're saying boys are being harmed? And I was like, well, everybody, deals with their trauma in their own way. So maybe he's actually not ready to do anything about it. That's what I said then. But now I think that he didn't see it as a problem. As long as you're financially, in my opinion, I feel that he feels, as long as you are financially taken care of, as long as everything is straight and things are functioning, whatever happens, happens. Whatever it is, what it is. It hurts, it's sad, but you'll get over it. That's how he moves with the whole situation. When I talked about this situation, so many people came out. I'll include the screenshots. So many people came out like, I know exactly who his mentor is. I know that he is still grooming. Again, these are other people's accounts. I do not know this man. I only knew that he had one mentor and the mentor did inappropriate things. I did not know names or anything. The people came out and sent me the same pictures, the same name, the same accounts. I can read off some of it to you. This is one account. Blank lives in some apartments in blank. He has been grooming my boy cousins for years, taking them on trips, buying them cars, getting them apartments, all where we live. He started off with my oldest brother all the way down to the little brother. They all call him blank. I've been asking questions about him and everybody thought I was crazy, saying, oh, he's in the church, he's a mentor, but nah, he's sick. It's like, and I mean, this is not just one. It was so many accounts of people being like, my son's with them. I know a girl who's got kids with, like, all this stuff. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Not only is, now the face to this man I've been hearing about for years is uncovered. So that's traumatic. I'm like, whoa. Now you've got other people saying, hey, if you know anything about this man, my kids are around him. Hey, I know all about this man. My brothers were around him and this is what happened. And I'm like, oh no. First of all, if so many people know that this man is doing terrible things, why isn't he in prison? And then I had to really deep dive into the whole Jehovah's Witness thing. And, and I'm not saying all Jehovah's Witnesses are like, I'm not saying all church is this way, but, it makes sense that things are covered up, swept under the rug. That's usually what some people do. Some people, when shit gets heavy, when they want to run away from all their demons, they run to the church. Not to heal, not to do anything other than just to run to the church and take shelter and get stronger so that they can come out and be better abusers. And then they run to the church again when there's a problem. And so I'm not saying that's what's happening in this situation. I tried to call a Kingdom Hall. My lawyer and I did everything that we could to report this incident and report this guy to the authorities. But again, we don't live there. So it's kind of hard to be like, oh, we saw this happen. No. But multiple people came out with the same story. So again, everybody's lying. And that's when things started to hit me and it began to get way too real because I was finding out these things in real time as I was doing my series about financial abuse. I had to find out that not only was he a financial abuser, but possibly, right, like other things started coming out. Let me talk about the other things. So aside from the child situation and him saying I took his voice, even though he told this story multiple times. Exes came out. Now, I was close to one of his exes. I am very close with her. But exes before her came out. Hold on, wait. Who are you? What's going on? Well, I know him. He's done this. He's done that. And of course, people can be bitter. You don't believe everything. But there was one in particular that hit me. It was different. It hit a little different. This message, it was this. It said, Anthony Terrell Knowles is Ace's real name. He goes by Ace and Tony to avoid searching into his abusive past. He was married and frequently abused his wife. She had to flee the city in order to escape him, and he would still not stop contacting her, which is something I experienced. The not stopping the contact. It just won't happen. He's going to find a way to contact you. He withheld signing divorce papers for years to keep control over her. He does not like women, and clearly that does not change. Please continue your fight. I support you. I believe you. And I have documents to back up these claims. And I said, oh, holy camole. So that point, I was like, hey, listen, no. I had always texted Ace and been honest about how I feel. I had always told him directly what the problem was. what I've experienced that I don't appreciate, right? I've always been forthcoming, so this time was no different. I went to him and was like, what's wrong with you? Not to be 100%, I wasn't 100% accusatory, but I was like, what's going on? Keita, you can't listen to her. This is a lie. Everything's fake. But listen, I had posted maybe one video. I seen your video. I think it's funny. It's actually giving me a lot of attention. It's actually helping tonight's conversation is what he told me. When I posted about my financial abuse, thanks for actually doing that. It was very helpful. But this woman's lying. She's a liar. And you can't believe her. But give me her information. And I was like, no. If she's a liar, whoever reached out, if this is a lie, I still can't give you this information because, there's supposedly protective orders in place. So I'd be damned if I'm sitting up here and I'm the reason why a woman is placed back into danger. Hell no. So when I reached out to the person, got more involved, I connected with the ex-wife. I did. He was adamant, give me her information. And I was like, no. So I talked to her. I said, what happened? She gave me a detailed account, many detailed accounts. And I was like, oh my God. He told me, I just want to make it right with her. I was wrong. I did some things I wasn't proud of. I just want to make it right with her. I just want to make it right with you. Honestly, I want the team back. I don't want Tripp to be upset. What do I got to do? And I was like, honestly, make it right. You brag about making all this money. You showcase all this money. You show Shopify and bank statements and all these things to prove you are who you say you are. You're this $1 million mogul, CEO, whatever. But when it comes to paying people correctly or not doing malicious things to them financially so that you can maintain financial control, you can't seem to stop that. So make it right. I didn't call him and threaten him or do anything. He offered me. He offered it to me. He said, how can I make this right? What can I do? What do you think that she would take? How about I give her this money? Would she like that? When I offered, when I told her his offer, she told me his money was disgusting. And I said, you know what? His money is disgusting. I said, but nobody can take away the pain that you've endured. So a couple, whatever won't hurt. And for days and days and days, he called me. Okay, what about this? I'll play some of the audio.
One question.
Yeah.
What about just the 5 all this year? Like 250 now, 256 months.
So give me 500,000.
I'm gonna tell you this: if you take that money and you just put it in the stock market, in 4 years you'll probably have more money. You know what I'm saying?
Nope, I don't know how to do stock markets. You don't.
No, I'm saying you'll just have it. You get what I'm saying? You'll have it. Like the idea, and this is I'm telling you from my side of it, what I would do. I would have the money.
People have been around you forever, and then other people's characters are going to start to be questioned, because my first thought was, which one of his niggas knew and sat by an abuser and continued to make money? That was my first thought when I saw it.
Mm-hmm. In regards to things that happened with his first wife, that's when we got calls in regards to wanting money and wanting to give us money. He called it a ceasefire. He said, how about I pay you guys $25,000 each for a ceasefire? I said, that's not going to work. I need at least half of what my contract was going to be, period. I didn't say anything. Actually, my husband did, because I don't handle business with that man. I had my husband call him. Mm-hmm. Beyond the ceasefire money that he was trying to give me and my former castmate, he also wanted us to go on Iyanla Vanzant, Fix My Life, with the core group. He wanted to pay for that as well. He also asked if I would come back on tour and offered a number there as well. Lastly, he asked for me to do a pop-up with him, like a pop-up at the next stop in Detroit for a tour. The very next day, he gets online making posts of a partial recording that he took of Keita yelling at him, but not the full conversation where he's egging her on and calling her at midnight at 1 o'clock in the morning and making offers. This is stuff that he did.
Okay, what about 500,000? What about 75,000? What about this? And I grew tired because every time we were on the phone, my lawyer was on the phone. His lawyer was on the phone. They're charging us by the hour. And then I realized this is just like before, where he would drag out conversations for days and weeks, where he would pester to get you all flustered. to try to make you make a decision or to try to make you say something that you didn't really mean to say. He did a lot of deals like that, and it's bad business practices. But you know what? He's a bad businessman, so it makes sense. I'll let his ex-wife tell her story, but what I will say is, in the statement that he made about just picking her up and placing her outside of the apartment, no. And you know what? Even if that was the truth, even if you only picked her up and placed her outside of the apartment, why are you picking up a grown adult woman and placing her outside of anywhere? He talks about and would always talk about his marriage to give himself more credibility on stage. Well, you know I was married. Well, you know I was married. Well, you know I was married. You were married for 1 year. After that, to somebody that was disfellowshipped, meaning she didn't have any friends, any family. She only had you at a very young age. You were young too. I'll give you that. You guys were young too, but she only had you. That marriage was toxic. You held on to her for a long time, allegedly, says her. You held on to the ex that I knew for a long time, even though she was telling you to stop contacting you. You held on to me for a long time, even though I told you to leave me alone. You don't seem to like to take no for an answer. And it seems like people have to go through great lengths to get the away from you. It seems like people have to go through extreme measures to get away from you, like maybe what I've done. You know, people are like, well, don't worry. This man is not all there, has my personal information, has shared my personal information multiple times. Not only do I have to worry about cast members that he's hired leaking my address, but he's given my phone number out. We'll get on to that later. And this is an employer, somebody that has social security numbers and all, and your address and everything and your birthday and everything like that. I didn't sign up for that. People are like, oh, you signed up for that. No one signed up for that. No one signed up for a personal privacy leak. Absolutely not. Why would I? And especially not for what he was paying. No. Why are you telling the story about the wife? Well, I needed to let you guys know why we were talking on the phone. From the recording, right? The audio recording of me screaming and yelling. Why was I screaming and yelling? He kept calling me. He kept pestering me. He wanted to fix the situation between him and his ex-wife. He wanted me to pay her off. He wanted this and that. It was chaos for days. And you can hear me on the recording say, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm stressed. What? Are you really gonna go through with what you're saying with the deal, or are you not? What's going on? What do you want? Do you really want to resolve this conflict, or do you not? What do you want? And then I wake up to my voice on social media. Okay, vlogs picking it up, blogs picking it up. Do you know Keita Rose is extorting Ace Metaphor? Extortion? I would have never called you. I would have never talked to you. There's no reason to. So let's go on into the financial abuse. Since we talked about all the abuses, let's go on to the financial. Mojojojo would say things, and I'm glad Rico brought it up. Mojojojo would say things like, hey, and I'll show you the screenshot, right? I'll show you the screenshot where he's like, hey, want to make some money? Hey, I really want you to put a show on my app. Let's build out the app. We had known that we were all, he had already made so much money. He talked about it. I'm already at $160,000 a month. And a lot of people were like, well, it just sounds like, he might not have the type of money that you guys think. No, he showed it several times. He can't help being braggadocious. He's gone on podcasts. He's went on Mandy's podcast and said, I'm a millionaire. He's a millionaire, he says. He has all this and all that, and he offers it to you, and he says, you'll have it too, and all I got to do is market you like this, and da-da-da-da-da, and it's all bullshit. In the beginning, he said, hey, I just need your Facebook account. I need to be added as an ad manager. I had no idea he was running ads. I had no idea he was doing the things that he was doing to attract or to take all of my followers, which at that time, I had millions before I met him. I know he told Pastor Jamal that a lot of people have used tonight's conversations to launch their careers. Yeah, I know a couple, but it wasn't me. I had already had what I had. So, he had used my followers. He should pay me for that. He attracted millions of people to his app, to his accounts, to him, to his ticket sales. And he would always be like, man, we're going bankrupt. Man, whenever you ask for more money, he's going bankrupt. But whenever you don't ask for anything, he's on top of the world and he's just made $160,000 in a day. Which one is it? He's the master of confusion. Trust and believe. He would do things like that. So he said that he was going to invest in my show. Now he's going on different podcasts saying that I'm bitter because my show didn't do well.
What happened with the finances? Tell us, just give it to us raw. What happened with the money?
Well, with me personally, everybody has their own situation, which is different or maybe even the same. But after the second season, he wanted to give me my own show on the app. Right.
Okay.
So I was gonna have my own show. So I told him, I was like, all right, cool. I'll go ahead and I'll pay for everything. So I got a whole new office space. I paid for the decor. I paid for the computers, the cameras, the mics, and y'all know it's not cheap, right? So I put together a pilot. He just never responded. Yep. I was like, all right. And then I was like, well, you know what? I didn't have a pitch deck. Let me get a pitch deck. So I put together a pitch deck. Never responded.
Let me tell you something. I stopped posting my show because I want to post something consistently. I want to give my audience something consistent, something that I know that I truly believe in. And I kind of rushed this process because he asked me to. He said that he needed a show to put on his app. I invested $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 into this pod. The guests were expensive. The equipment was expensive. The videographer, the studio, everything was expensive, but I wanted it to be high quality because it was going on his app. If it was just for me and my YouTube, I would have been, we could have done it virtually or we could have done something else. But instead, I was like, it's going on his app. He said that in 3 weeks, I would get a contract. He's gonna pay for the first 8 episodes. And then after that, we're gonna work out another plan. We had talked for days about this. Nothing. Once everything's done, I sent him the episodes. I'm like, do you like it? He's like, I love it. It looks great. I love the quality. I'm like, okay, so when are you gonna put it on your app? He never did. He never wanted to talk. He just never talked about it. He told me for several months, I'm going to do your own ads for your own products. I'll help you sell your products. I said, okay. He never did it. He said, I'm going to sell your products on my email list. He never did it. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Because like I said, trying to reason with someone who does things for no damn reason will drive you crazy. But all I can think is that, he needs this sense of importance. I can do this for you. And then he enjoys, in my opinion, tearing that away and being like, actually, I can't. And looking at your face as you are so disappointed at not only him, but yourself. Why did I trust you? So I got myself in a lot of debt. I asked him, right, for another contract to get myself out of that debt. I was like, let me get another contract. With this contract, not this last one, but with the one prior, because all the contracts are like going into one another. But in the one prior, he had told me, okay, well, I'll do this contract for you. We'll be good. I'm gonna get you your money back. I'm sorry that the investments and different things fell through. Everything's gonna be good. My bad, bro. I don't think y'all quite understand it. Like the show ain't making no money and we're going bankrupt and all this stuff. Okay, blah, blah, blah. You've already said it for years. You're a freaking liar. We don't believe you. I don't believe you. Let me just have a contract so I can make this money back so I can leave. Honestly, so I can quit. So I never, ever, ever have to see you or work for you again. So we can be cordial. I'll show messages where I'm talking about being cordial with him. Let's just be cordial. I don't want to deal with it. I do not want to be associated with you anymore. But every time you talk to him like that, he gets upset. He gets angry. He feels like you are attacking him. He feels like he's giving you all this stuff. So why are you choosing to walk away? And it's like, because you're toxic. You hurt everyone around you. Manager, assistant, girlfriend, friends, this mentor, if some of the stories are true or not, who knows? You cannot thrive unless it's chaotic and negative. And that's a problem. It's like, yeah, you're already a liar. It's fine. Are we doing the contract? Are we working together? What's up? He's like, yeah, we are. It's, I love you. You're my sister, all this stuff. Okay, yeah. We've heard that before, but, actions speak louder than words. And what I've really learned, too, when people say things like, you're my brother or you're my sister, but they treat you like shit, they're not lying. This is how they treat their brothers and sisters. This is how they treat their family members like shit. Or their family members have treated them like shit, or maybe they didn't protect them or love them. And so when they say, I treat you, you're my sister, I treat you just like a sister, but I'll beat your ass or I'll do something terrible to you, they mean it. They'll do that to their own sister, though. So, don't feel special. So he gave me the contract, gave me the rate that I wanted. Everything was fine. For the most part, he paid well. For the most part, he paid well. He paid on time. It wasn't until you were doing your own thing, or maybe he saw that you were doing well, that he was like, hey, I have an investment. Hey, I got an idea to make some money. And so in the beginning, of course, as you're trusting him and you're like, why not? Why is it? What reason would this person have to continuously lie? You know, what reason would this person have to make up wanting to invest with you just so that you could, you know, buy all this equipment and lose all this money and then pull out of the deal? No, this person wouldn't do that. That doesn't even make sense. That would mean that you hate me. And I know that you don't, because we're a family, because we're a team, because we're building something beautiful, but all of it's bullshit. All of it is baby back barbecued bullshit. We signed the contract, everything's fine. And then I get a call and he's like, hey, you know, I really feel bad about the investments. I really feel bad about everything that fell through. You know, you mentioned you were in debt, because I never shy away from it. A lot of people are afraid to come out and say, I was financially abused, because it makes you look broke. A lot of people called me broke. A lot of people don't want to say I'm broke or I'm struggling or I don't have. So they'll say things like, nah, I wasn't that serious, or nah, whatever. I'm going to be honest. I got into a lot of debt because I believed him and trusted him several times with my business. And on my side business, the business aside from the tour. And he messed me up and screwed me up each and every time. And as all of us began to speak with one another, we realized he's doing the same thing to me and you. So when you guys say like, why are you bringing up things? You know, why are you bringing up things from the past? I'm showing you a pattern. Patterns matter. The past matters. If you have a history of hitting people when you get angry, sure, you can change. If in 5 years something bad happens, maybe, you know, you get punched in the face, it does kind of make sense, because this person has a history of. You are Pastor Jamal said that he is a relationship counselor.
I'm going to call him a relationship counselor.
Yet everyone that I've spoken to that has been in long-term, or claims they have been in long-term relationships with this man, pictures and all, got more than that, but I just got to keep it moving. Women that have been with them have said, I don't know, it's not the best over here, but you're supposed to give advice. You have people saying things like, because of you, I left my husband. I feel great. You feel great now. Because of you, I figured out that my wife wasn't ... And it's like, Now you can give as much advice, counter him as much as you want on stage and whatever, but at the end of the day, he chooses the clips, he chooses the wave of the flow of the show. It's his show. You have to respect it. So you do what you do. So the contract's good. He calls me. He pesters me. And says, Keita, I feel bad. All the investments, everything fell through. Keita, just let me, you know what? I'm going to take control of your merch. Just give me your merch. Send it to me. Just give me your merch. I said, okay, but why? I said, I already have people that I pay to come on tour and handle and sell my merch. Why do I need you? He said, because it would help you. I don't want you to lug so much stuff. You look tired all the time. He always threw little digs. You look so tired. You know, aesthetics is important with them. So you look so tired. And it's like, I don't want you to help me with anything involving my business. I want to get through this contract and I want to go separate ways. And I know you feel it and I feel it and everybody, feels it. And so let's just not do this. I think it was like 7 or 8 days. I had a breakup. I had already been dealing with a breakup. I was dealing with other stuff with the girls on the team. I said, you know what? I was like, okay, you can have the merch. You said it's gonna help. I'm gonna gain money. It's gonna be a good thing. I'm not gonna lose money. Cool. I paid $7,000. I sent him a box of merch, 38 boxes to be exact. And as soon as I did it, I swear it must have been a week. More bullshit. Of course. And it's like, at this point, you're not even mad. You're not mad at yourself or him. You're like, whatever. You're just numb. Like, it. I had just gotten myself, out of debt, or I was close to getting out of debt. It wasn't until the end of 2024 where I got out of debt. So I was close, and I'm like, I just want to get through this. I just don't want this to be the worst experience of my life just because it's a job. and a podcast at that. I do not want to say that this podcast was the worst experience of my life when I've been through so much. Come on. Just let me get through this. That's how I felt. You know, he said he didn't know I was sending all this stuff, even though I had sent him a picture, and he was like, oh, come, yeah, awesome, send it. He said that he couldn't take all of my stuff. He can only take some of my stuff. And I was like, okay. Employees of his would say things like, we're going to drop off all your things in this city or drop off all your things in that city. And I know that he's that petty, especially when he feels like you're about to go your separate ways. You're about to separate, so he gets real, oh, no, can't lose out on my supply. He says things to different employees so that it'll come back to you. So finally, I started doing the same thing. Every time I was like, hey, Ace is a bitch. I'd be like, Mojojojo's a bitch. I hope it gets back to you. Love ya. Love your brother. I became really nasty because that was the environment. And sometimes your body's you're gonna survive. That's what I know. I don't, I've learned in this that there's a lot of weak men and women. I'm not talking shit, but there's a lot of people that would rather just deal with the hurt and the pain that their abuser is giving them rather than feel the hurt and pain of fighting, but then feel also the joy that comes with coming out of that and saying, I made it. I didn't let this break me. There are some people that will never experience that, but I have several times in my life. So I was just confused at why this podcast was having me, and why this man was this. A lot of people say, have you slept with him? Absolutely not. That's my 13th reason. I will never sleep with him. Stop. We're not. Trust me. As many times as he said, you're fat. You're not aesthetically pleasing enough. Get finer. I don't like this. I don't like that. It's like he truly didn't like me. And you know what? I truly didn't like him. We did not like each other at all. It turns out that nobody actually dropped my stuff off. He was just saying it. But my things would come in boxes that were beat up, torn. It looked like they were kicked in. And no one else's boxes was like that. So I was just like, all right. Kept having to go to Lowe's and buy more boxes. And it's like, okay, my shit's on the same truck as your shit, yet my shit looks like this. He was intentionally trying to sabotage my business. Why would somebody do that so that you could ask for another contract? And even still, once the end of the contract came, I said, hey, this didn't work. I lost a lot of fucking money. You could only bring like 7 boxes. I have like 30 boxes that I didn't sell. Hey, I was as giving away shit at this point. I'm like, you know what? Hey, just send me my stuff back. What do we got to do? How can we figure it out? And he's like, you still haven't even said thank you for me taking your things. What? You called me every day and begged me for them and said it would help me and you just wanted to help me and make it right. All the things that you did, you felt bad for, so you just want to make it right. Only to find out that I'm now still continuously being financially crippled enough. I've had enough of you. I don't want you anywhere in my circle, my life, my work. I wish I could erase you from work history. In fact, I think I will. On my resume, I'm gonna have a 4-year gap. No, because it was terrible. He's like, you still haven't said thank you. I think I deserve like a drink or a bottle. You want me to spend even more money thanking you for some shit I never asked you for? Some shit that you did wrong? You had a plan. It's like he has a plan and maybe he intends it'll go well. I don't know. But it always fails. And then he just wants to kind of like run away from it and say like, oh, that didn't really happen. I didn't do that. Yes, you did. What the and stop doing it. What's wrong with you? I gave him the bottle. He said he wanted me to present it on stage. I said no. And then he kicked me off of one of my last shows. I was like, wow. I had never been kicked off a show. I had never missed a show. I had never, even when I was sick, I was there. I was on time. I was cute as a goddarn button. Right now, we're at like so much of a loss. It really honestly didn't even matter that I worked there. I was going to leave the job with less than what I came in with, but it. The job, the podcast I help build with my followers, and I'm the first lady, and you're so important because and all the shit and all the things, and it's like none of it even mattered. It was all a lie. And sometimes if a person is acting delusional, it's because unbeknownst to them, they were living in somebody else's weird ass illusion, because they can't face reality. Their reality is too scary. That's how he, tried to financially cripple me. So we talked about the abuse, and we talked about how everything came out in real time, and I felt it was important to expose a couple things, and I did. I felt it was important. Since we're supposed to protect our boys and protect all these things, I felt it was important when I found out that the story could actually be real. Because, for a long time, you're like, whatever. You think he's just a liar because sometimes he just be lying. But when I found out that the story could be real, absolutely. I did what I felt like I had to do. A lot of people thank me for it. And it is what it is. Whether or not you agree with the way that I came out, whether or not you agree, you think it's messy. I mean, you understand my point, but it's messy. Abuse is messy. And I don't care if you guys can't stand the fact that I label this as abuse. You're not a victim. I'm a victim of financial abuse by the hands of Ace Metaphor. And if you work with him in the future, just be careful. At the very least, take heed. I didn't say stop working with him, don't support him, but just know that the people that have had work relationships with him and personal relationships with him all say the same thing, and it's not good. So take heed. I wish somebody would have said that to me. I don't want to be associated with Ace Metaphor, Mojojojo, or tonight's conversation. I just don't want to be associated with it. So if you are a fan of mine, or if you're not, and if you have a little bit of a respect for me, or if you don't, please, when we're out, don't mention him to me, because these are not fond memories. I feel as though I was abused. Whether or not you agree is not my business. It isn't my business. Don't associate me with somebody that has caused me a lot of pain. Please. That's all. Just don't. I don't know what wasn't my story to tell, but I told it. Anyway, I said it. My hashtag has always been and has been for years. Keita said it, because if you don't want to, don't worry, I will. And I've always been very on fucking brand, so I don't know what to tell. Yes. Let's go on to Kitty and how we got there. I'm sorry that this is so long, but unfortunately, I'm doing YouTubes. Now I'm on the long-winded, long podcast wave. I like it. Also, thank you to everybody that has supported me by going down to KeitaSaidIt.com and purchasing a journal, a plural, or a Growing Through It journal. I really, really appreciate that. I put a lot of love into my products, into packaging it up and sending it to those who pour a lot of love into me. And so I just want to say thank you. And also, thank you for the people who, reached out and basically said, keep going, keep fighting. I really, really appreciate that. I don't think you guys understand how important that is to me. This has not been an easy journey. I cope with comedy a lot of the times, and also, why be sad about some shit that's happening or already happened? You know what? It's okay to feel feelings. It's okay to be sad. Don't be sad forever. You're allowed to talk about it. You're allowed to process it, and you're allowed to do it in whatever way feels right to you. I want to caveat into how Kitty comes into all of this. Like, what's going on with her? Okay, well, I had been there prior. He had always asked me about certain guests. He asked me about her, Richie, Rico, a lot of guests, Mr. Lecco, different people. Should I have him on? Should he be on this episode? A lot of things, right? I didn't know who Kitty was, but I didn't have a problem with her. I thought she was very pretty, and so she came in. One of the things that I noticed that he would do is call me her name. So on stage, he'd be like, Keita. And I said, hey, if you don't know how to say my name, or my name is hard for you to pronounce, I don't know what you're going to have to do, but don't do that anymore. And then he laughed. And it reminded me of a time before when we very first started touring, where he would call me Nikita, and I would tell him, don't call me Nikita on stage. And he would say, well, it's your name. And I would say, right, but my stage name is Keita, don't call me Nikita. And then he was like, okay. So then the next show, he called me Nikita, and I was getting very upset because I told you what I'll answer to. So I said, you know what? I'm going to call him Anthony on stage. So on stage, I was like, all right, Anthony, sure, Anthony. And then and only then did he say, okay, I'm going to call you Keita. And so I thought we had already understood each other with this whole name thing. But now Kitty has come in, and you're calling me her name, and you're laughing as I express to you that I don't like it. Okay, cool. You know, Mojojojo knows how to push buttons, and so he always triangulated. I talked about this. Triangulation, right? It's where you want to conquer by dividing, isolate. You be alone, you be alone, you be alone, and let me control. I never said anything about Kitty, but Mojojojo told her, you know, Kita doesn't want to be, well, from her lips, from what she told me, Mojojojo told her, you know, Kita doesn't really want to be on stage with you. I don't know why, but I'm really sorry. And Kitty was like, what the, you know what? I had always been on, you know, cool with Kita. What's going on? I didn't know that he told her that until later. And then I apologized to her. I sent her a text message. I said, I had never said anything, you know, about you. I have no problem with you. I don't even know you. You know, it's just that I don't want to be called somebody else's name. And she was like, yeah, but it was an honest mistake. Right, but I have a past with that. I don't like the mistake. Let it not be made again. No. So she's like, yeah, I get it. Okay, I understand. And we kind of stopped talking, but none of us were actually friends. And so throughout that contract, throughout that tour, he was calling each of us, talking about each other. You know, Kitty said this about you. You know, Randy said this about you. Did you know that Kitty? And it was like, oh my God. And we knew he wasn't doing that with the men because the men wouldn't be okay with that. You know, I think Rico even said like, oh yeah, he tried to call me and gossip. And some of the men gossip actually with him, like little hens. Some of the men actually do gossip with them, but some of the men don't. But all of the women did. Me and Randy got into it a lot of times. He said he wanted us to argue more. We weren't arguing enough. And just it was toxic. It was crazy. It made you crazy. It made you have stress throughout your day. You couldn't focus on things that you needed to focus on. It was mayhem. And for what? Nothing. So we got to talking and we realized, okay, it's him. So when Kitty came in, we were trying to tell her, hey, he's going to tell you some stuff. And she did. She said, well, when I came in, he and his manager, Natasha, told me that you guys said, you know, you guys are really jealous. You guys are really nasty and I should watch out. And I was like, well, that's what you tell a new hire. Like, hey, all of your coworkers hate you and they're going to be mean. I was like, hey, I don't know where you got that from, but we've been dealing with this. I've been dealing with this shit for 3 years. Randy for like 2 now. So enough. This is gonna be hard. You know, do you understand what you're dealing with? She's like, oh, he sounds like a narcissist, baby. He sounds like a narcissist. I was like, yeah, he is. He likes to triangulate. He has a really like broken ego. He needs validation. He needs to feel important and he needs to have control. And when he doesn't, he spirals, in my opinion, from what I've experienced. She said she knew all about narcissists because of her exes. She said she had a stalker, so she understood about people needing to control everything. Like, it seemed like she was really, really down to earth. And I was like, okay. So she gets it. But then randomly, at times, she would just act weird, distant, look at you funny, or say something like off. And it would be like, and then you keep it moving, right? You don't give it too much energy, but you keep it moving. And it's like more stuff would happen. Over the months, it had gotten so bad that I finally wanted to call everybody and just get together. Please, can we come together? This shit is difficult. We are on stage talking shit about each other. We are on stage rolling our eyes and not responding to each other's, you know, conversation. When somebody says, hey, what do you think about this on stage? You're purposely ignoring a cast member that's looking at you and talking to you on stage. Don't you think the audience might pick up on these things? No, I don't think it's that important. It is. So we all got together. It was good. We talked and we chopped it up. Everybody was like, you know what? This is petty. This is stupid. Let's keep it moving. So cool, we did. And I called up Mojojojo, and I'll never forget. I was like, hey, everything is cool. We good. We got it. And he was so mad. Why the did you call everybody? What's wrong with you? Why are you mad? Why are you mad? Shouldn't you be happy that your cast mates and your employees are getting along? If your employees get along, then the business runs better. It functions better. People treat each other more like a team. Why does that make you angry when people function well? Could it be because you've never functioned well? Could it be because you unfortunately and at no fault of your own was born in such turmoil, born in dysfunction? So you only thrive in dysfunction? Could that be it? Of course not. Okay, cool. He called Randy. Randy told me that he said, she was pathetic and she needed friends so bad. And why does she want to talk to me? Because we all wanted to get along on tour. It's hard. We're away from our families. We have to spend unnecessary money. You make things difficult. It's hard. So why fight? Let's all be cool. Kitty says she understood this very well. She understood narcissism, triangulation, all that. She got it. So we were cool. We were whatever. She acted a little funny. Months went by and I was like, you know what? I don't know what it is, but we just can't really get along. We're faking the funk and we're not really doing it. And it's still kind of awkward. So what if we did, something? So what if we created a situation where it was like, hey, all of us are civil and we just do good work. We don't have to do things like go out to eat and force ourselves to, let's just not. Even if it wasn't our fault, even if we feel this way about each other and we feel weird about each other because Mojojojo has started some mess, let's just be cordial and get through this contract. I reached out to Kitty and was like, hey, I don't want to be friends, and I was going to reach out to Randy and say the same thing. It's not quite the same as before. We keep fighting. We know it's triangulation, but it keeps breaking us. So let's just stop. And Kitty was adamant about talking, reaching out. Please, no, wait, hold on. Like, let's talk. Randy, her spirit is bad. The Lord told me to guard my spirit from her. Okay? And I want to let you know that, like, somebody reached out to me that's very close to Randy. And I want to let you know that she knows some things. I was like, okay. She's like, Randy leaked your address. And for months, I had been moving on top of dealing with Mojojojo, on top of dealing with a breakup. I was like, oh my God, what else? And I was like, okay, Randy did that? Well, okay, all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and block her. I'm tired of this bullshit. So I blocked her. And then over the months, me and Kitty became really close. She insisted. It wasn't just a business relationship. She insisted we hang out. She insisted our families hang out and do movie nights. She insisted on doing these things. She insisted on making it personal. She told me her personal business. I told her my personal business. It was a friendship. We were growing and trying to trust each other. We were trying to grow a friendship and a business relationship. So I thought. People are like, why are you telling Kitty's story? Kitty was very sad. She complained a lot about her life. I believe, I don't want to diagnose, but I believe she was going through postpartum. She had just had a baby, I think the year before. It was very soon. She was insecure about her body. She always talked about her body. You felt like, how can I support you in a time where you need it? Because you're supporting me. Let's stick together. I don't know how many times you have to tell people that there is power in numbers, and if you stick together, you can get more results than falling apart. So build community. I'm like, what's going on? She said, I'm the only one taking care of my family. So I said, okay. She said, my husband doesn't pay the bills. I'm the breadwinner. I take care of a lot of all my kids. Found out she had multiple kids and my family. So I said, shit. I said, that's a lot of pressure on you. She said, yes. She said, my sister's in this type of relationship. I don't agree with A, B, C, and D. She said a lot about her sister, who now her sister's online saying a lot about me, but I'm going to let it slide because I understand that you're defending her sister. But she said a lot about her sister. And so I gave boxes of my food to who she said was her sister. I don't know if you got it, girl, but I don't know if it was for her or her sister. She said it was for her sister. She said she was struggling financially really, really badly. And everybody's like, why are you telling her business? Because when you say things like that, in order to gain money, meals, food, things, it becomes important and relevant to the story. We went out to eat. She said, oh, can you get it? I'll get it next time. Then next time didn't come. She's like, I understood that she was going through it. And as a mom, I'm a single mom, and I'm trying to gift and give a lot to a person with a husband. I understand some people have the dynamic where the woman is the breadwinner and the man is not. I get it. I've been in that dynamic. It does not work for me. I'm sorry. I tried it. I tried it. It does not work for me. So that's a stressful thing. Tour is stressful. Mojojojo stressful. Being a mom, I get it. I'm trying to help. I'm like, okay, I can only do so much. I'm under debt too. You know, we're talking about debt. I'm telling her I'm in debt. I'm saying he's just tried to destroy me financially. He always does things like this. And so she tells me, you know, I didn't want to say anything, but we were sharing things, you know, about our debt. I was like, listen, I invested in my podcast. I made sure that it looked nice for his app, and then the investment fell through, and he said it's sorry, but that was it. And I'm like, I get it. I've been through what you've been through. I understand. So, you know, she told me all these stories. He put me in $30,000 worth of debt. He's trying to sabotage my career, my tour. He's mad that I'm going on tour. Randy had experienced the same thing. She was going on Let's Rant About It, and Mojojojo was mad as hell. Who does she think she is? She's going to try to take my audience. She's going to try to... Ain't nobody worried about your ass. It's going to be 2 separate audiences. That's what I would tell him, but it didn't matter. He was mad. He gets mad when you venture off. She was venturing off, and here's the messages where she's like, I think he's sabotaging my tour. I'm frustrated. I never want to work here again. That's most of how people feel. So it's funny how she gets online and she makes a video where she's laughing most of the time and saying things like, you know, on one of them, and on the other one where she's like, well, I don't understand. I don't know that financial abuse situation. I've never experienced it. Really? Well, here's a message where I'm like, didn't he put you in $30,000 worth of debt? Because that's what you told me, and it made me feel really bad. Again, when you use your fake ass abuse stories, if it's real or not real, when you use your abuse to get things, then that story becomes pertinent. So what's up? You said you were in all this debt. You said this and that, but now you're saying you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm making it up. You don't know about that whole financial abuse situation. Okay, well, here's messages where I say, yeah, where you say, yeah, he definitely sabotaged me. He's hurt me in several ways. On top of that, she said that she owes a lawyer $15,000. So I said, good gosh. I said, good golly, Miss Molly, why do you owe a lawyer $15,000? She's like, well, you know, my ex, he beat me up real bad, and a gun just went off, and, you know, I got in trouble. So I was like, well, how'd you get in trouble? I was like, did you break something? Did something, like, how did you get in trouble when he's the one that beat you up? Like, what happened? And much like Mojojojo, when you ask pertinent questions that are valid and matter, they shut down. She was like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about all that. And I respected her. I was like, okay. So that's already $45,000. She said that her sister didn't have any money. She said that her sister needed A, B, C, and D. Okay. So again, that's money. I'm like, I'm not tripping. We were coming close. It's fine. And I said, well, you know what? Do you mind me talking to Trip? Because me and Trip are sharing an Airbnb to try to save money. Why were we sharing an Airbnb? Why is Trip, who is the one that's on almost every clip, the one that is drawing in attention, right? Because my numbers are doing it in the back end, Trip's doing it in the front end, and Kitty's doing it in the front end as well. Her clips are also doing very well. So why is it that she's in debt? Why is it that the people that started with you are in debt? Why is it that you're the main guy, right? The people think that it's his pod, and Mojojojo used to hate that shit, that people think that it's Trip's pod. Why is he not in the best situation? What is going on with, is the business failing or not? Because you keep on bragging about buying penthouses in Atlanta and doing this and that and going to Falcon games or whatever kind of games, I don't know, sports and all this shit. So I said, I said, do you mind if I tell Trip like what's going on with us and see if he's also experienced it? Because he's told me stories and everybody's stories. Also, Trip has told this story to a lot of other people. I don't know. It's not a secret. And by this story, I mean his story of financial abuse. She said, yeah, go ahead, go for it. Anything helps. I really need help. I really need to figure out how to get out of this. I understood. She was snapping. We went to the bar. It was me, Randy, JT, Carlos, which is Kitty's husband, Kitty, me, and my boyfriend. So we were all at the bar, having a good time, laughing, drinking, Carlos went to the bathroom. Came back. I guess it wasn't fast enough. Kitty said, answer your motherfucking phone when I text you. He was like, what? I just went to the bathroom. So I'm assuming the text message was like, where are you? She's very like, insecure about her relationship. He seems like a cool guy. This isn't the first time that she's blown up on him for being gone away from her for too long. Again, ding-a-ling-a-ling control. Where are you? And it's like, ooh, oh, shiggity ding dings. But then when we decided to separate from the boys, and me, her, and Randy went upstairs, and she was like, I can't even say it. She was like, pussy ass nigga always crying about something. I think because he was complaining about how she treated him in front of all of us. And again, I guess if ever it goes to court, everybody lying, because we were all there. So I don't know. I said, oh, geez. So you wanted to help. She wasn't happy, but she's talented. You always build her up. I always was like, girl, you look cute. Girl, you're pretty. Da-da-da-da. She said the same to me. We try to build each other up. But I went to Trip and I told him, I was like, hey, listen, all of us are going through it. He was like, well, you know my story, which that story was, Trip's been with Mojojojo for like 10 plus years. So he has stories of Mojojojo saying he's gonna pay and then not paying and then bragging about how much he made even though he didn't pay and different things like that. And that made him so angry and it made him mad and it made him hate him from his mouth. So it was like, okay, so we all have the same feeling. Let's do something about it. Let's come together. Let's figure out how much we believe that we're worth. Because mind you, around this time, he's trying to triangulate with more people. So he's inviting guests in, but he's saying to them, I love the fact that you look rich. I love the fact that da-da-da-da. And it's like, he's telling us that he's flying the guests in. So, they don't have to pay for their flights. And he's doing these things for the guests. But the core is struggling. The people that have been with you forever, they are struggling. And he's bragging about what he's doing for the new guests. And it's like so disrespectful. But he did that in relationships where he would brag about the women that would flirt with him or the caliber of women going up in front of his girlfriend as a way to like hurt her. And I used to be like, why are you ill? Leave him. I used to tell her like, couldn't, no, girl. I don't think so. Not this one. I said we were going to come together, pick your own price, but we're going to say that we're worth this. If he says, no, that's fine. We'll go off and we'll come together and do our own thing because we're all very talented and I'm sure that we'll figure it out together. Since we've all done shows and we've all done little things off to the side that haven't been, that wouldn't be as successful as all of us coming together, it would make more sense if we all came together. A month later, Kitty started acting weird. She didn't want to talk no more. She didn't want to text no more. This is somebody who's always on the phone, telling her clients business. Telling the people that pay her $200 and something an hour business. She always chit-chatting, but now she's nowhere to be found. I had found out that, he was hoping to replace me with B. Simone, and hoping that, she would come in because she had more followers and he was done with my audience. Oh, ooh, ouch. So I was like, oh, wow. And again, he tells everybody so it can come back to you. And I'm like, you know what? He's such a coward. I found out that Kitty told him I came up with a plan and she told him I was plotting against him. Me and Trip were plotting. So I called Trip and I'm like, can you believe this?
Our conversation wasn't going to be as simple as trios. It wasn't. And between you and I, you already know. You probably already know. Somebody told me what the figures niggas was going to be asking for.
Yeah, Kitty.
So what?
And Trip is like, I don't think Kitty did it. And I do begin to cry. And he's taken aback like, why are you crying? And I'm like, this is hard for me to deal with because I've done a lot for Kitty. And I also thought that we were building a friendship. So I don't understand why she would have even gone to him. Somebody that has hurt her so much. I don't get it. And he's like, I don't think it happened. And I'm like, okay. Well, only you and her knew, and somehow it got back to him. So, okay. Got off the phone. We were cool. I don't have any problem with Trip. And I said that several times. I have no problem with Trip, but I'm going to tell the story. Because what happens when you all get together and you say things like, we're going to stand up, we're tired of this. Me and Trip had a very deep conversation about why people stay so long in abusive situations and why we internalize it and say it's our fault instead of the manipulator's fault, or maybe that we both had a hand. We've talked about this. It was that deep. Now, I can understand not wanting it to be public, but we're public figures. So, I don't know. We give advice. We advise the public on how to have great relationships. Why can't we show them how to fight and resolve conflict? Why can't we show them, if you don't like fighting, absolutely, we can go which way you want it. Why don't we show them how to have a conversation, but without accountability, that conversation is just a whole bunch of words. And you can make it as poetic and pretty as you want it, but it's just a whole bunch of bullshit. If you put a bow on a turd, it's still a turd, babe. It's just a pretty one. Once I find out that Kitty went to Ace and told, I started questioning a lot of everything. So I went back to the assistant, because we had talked on a frequent basis. So I went back to the assistant and I was like, hey, I found out that Kitty has done A, B, and C. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you think? And she was like, you know what? Randy didn't leak your address.
Bitch, what?
I said, well, Randy didn't leak your address. Okay, who leaked it? I don't know. You know what? It's giving Kitty. And I was like, oh shit, you don't actually know. You spoke so confidently. Kitty spoke so confidently. Everybody knew for sure. And that's the reason why I didn't even give Randy a chance. And this is a screenshot of Randy saying, like, everyone's blocked me. I don't know what's going on. Again, isolation feels like torture. If you've ever been isolated, and that's what we did to her, it was wrong. It was wrong. And we all participated in it. So we isolated her. And, I didn't even ask. So what do you mean you don't know? She was like, the conversation with me and, Kitty was more of like, she was actually more telling me that's what happened. I was thinking to myself, maybe she knew. That's not the story that you presented to me. Okay. I'm not mad, but at this point, nope. And that's been my attitude for the past, I think, about a year and a half. Nope. Things started making sense, like why she had become so distant. She didn't want to say anything anymore. The girl that we gossip, she told me her client's business. She had no problem telling all of us her client's business and doing this and doing that and being rowdy and whatnot and gossiping. And she's actually one of the first people that presented the fact that, like, Ace could be into men to me. She sent me a text message with his Instagram, his other Instagram, ANALLS, and he's privated now. First it was public, but it had a lot of pictures on it, and we were on the phone as she was sending it to me, and we were talking, and she was like, he might be bisexual, and I was like, whoa. And of course we said more than that, because it was like, whoa. So to all this, I asked her why she told. She's like, well, he wanted to manage me and he wanted to really manage my tour. And I said, the same person that put you in $30,000 worth of debt wanted to manage you? And this is the reason why you decided to snake me? And she's like, well, he said he was going to produce my show. Girl, you. I was like, oh no. As I started talking about her exes came out. And one of them was like, hey, I'm the one, about the gun that abused her. That's not true. I didn't abuse her. He has his own story. He'll share his. Hey, no, she shot at me with my own gun. It wasn't like that. So that's their thing. You got another one that was like, she cheated and was very verbally, she wasn't the best, but she sent me long emails apologizing, but then she would do the same behavior over again. Then you got people that came out and said she cheated on her first husband and she was a professional side chick. I got screenshots of that. So I'm like, what? Who did I work for? Who did I work with? Who are you people? And not only do you want to give relationship advice, right? But you also want to become psychologists, not both, but Kitty. You want to become a psychologist and get into people's minds, and hell no. Let's heal first before we start to make a career out of this, because this is some bullshit. You guys, I really appreciate you listening to this long episode of Unmedicated and Educated with Keita Rose. Hi, I'm Keita Rose. And I really appreciate those of you that watched the series, those of you that reached out and said thank you. Maybe you inspired me. This was not easy. This was not something that I thought was gonna all come out, but it had to come out. Maybe it had to come out. So it did. Thank you so much for watching and listening to another episode of Unmedicated and Educated with Keita Rose. I am Keita Rose. And until next time, baby, I will holla.